Buenas and half a day. The Committee on Finance and Government Operations is now called to order, and the time is 10:02. First notice of this public hearing was disseminated to all senators and media outlets on April 8, 2025, and its second notice was disseminated on April 12, 2025. The hearing notices were also made available on the Guam Legislature's website, our legislative calendar, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal. The committee will now hear Bill 44-38 COR, introduced by the Committee on Rules by the request of Magaʹhågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriations for the operations of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30, 2026, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous administrative provisions. And this morning's hearing is relative to the Guam Community College. Joining me for this budget hearing is my Vice Chair of the committee and also Vice Speaker, Senator Tony Added. Thank you very much. The Chairman on Education, Senator Guåhan, excuse me. Welcome, Senator Guåhan, Mr. Chairman. Senator Guåhan is joining us as well as Senator Calvo and Senator Tello Taitigui. Those testifying on Bill 4438 COR relative to the Guam Community College, please take a seat at the hearing table and we'll go to the sign-in sheet. And for those that are going to be testifying this morning, is going to be Carlo Leon Guerrero from GCC as well as Mary Okada, and they're already forward, so I didn't have to call them. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone in attendance of the Legislature in Guåhan's general rules of conduct. Individuals testifying shall be first recognized by the chairperson before speaking and shall state their full name for the record-keeping purposes. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance and the nature of what's on the agenda and the bill. Personal inferences to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying are not permitted. The chairperson of the committee may order the removal from the hearing of any members of the Legislature in Guåhan and the public audience who fail to observe proper decorum pursuant to the 38th Guam Legislature's standing rules. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in immediate removal from this public hearing room. At this time, all of the members of the panel who will be testifying on the budget are going to be asked to be sworn in. So if you could please rise, and the Sergeant at Arms will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, you all affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Mr. Chair, under oath, you may proceed.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you for recognizing our rules of the House. Whenever we discuss budget matters, we go through this process to ensure both of us are on the same playing field. Thank you very much. So with that, we'll now proceed to your testimony on Bill 4438. And what I would like to do at this time, Madam President, is I'll recognize yourself, and you can introduce your panel members or have them, and whichever order you'd like to go in, I'll let the panel choose, but I'll start with you, Madam President, for your presentation of your budget request for 2027. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Dueñas. I'd like to first defer to our chairman, Mr. Carlo Leon Guerrero, who will present his testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for everyone, for our committee report processes, we need you to identify yourself, the organization you're with, and then proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Carlo Leon Guerrero, Chairman of the Board of Trustees for Guam Community College. Good morning, Chairman Dueñas and members of the 38th Guam Legislature. My name is Carlo Leon Guerrero, and I have the privilege today to testify before you as the Chairman of the Guam Community College Board of Trustees. I am honored to present this testimony highlighting some of the significant progress and accomplishments of Guam Community College during fiscal year 2025 as a prelude to our goals for fiscal year 2026. GCC has demonstrated unwavering commitment to advancing education, fostering workforce development, and expanding and enhancing the institution's infrastructure to create a sustainable environment for learning and community engagement. I want to start by congratulating Dr. Mary Okada, Dr. Gina Tadella, Dean Pilar Williams, and all of the GCC accreditation team for their amazing job in preparing for the college for the accreditation site visit in early March of this year. GCC did an outstanding job focusing on students first, mission always. We will know the official results of our accreditation in the next couple of months. Additionally, GCC has undertaken several initiatives to enhance institutional effectiveness. Just last month, we began the process of upgrading GCC's administrative software system to a software as a service model, aiming to improve operational efficiency and data management. The college is also upgrading the GCC public website to reflect user expectations of today and to ensure an effective and enjoyable user experience. In FY2025, GCC secured substantial funding to support the educational initiatives and infrastructure projects. Next week, we will host 30 women entrepreneurs from throughout the Pacific Islands, thanks to a U.S. Department of State grant that was awarded to GCC to host the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, AWE. The $250,000 grant allowed GCC to facilitate a 12-month business development and leadership virtual training program, catering to women of the Pacific from the 25 island nations within the Young Pacific Leaders Network. The Academy culminates with all 30 women attending workshops and networking with Guam's leading women in business right here on Guam next week. Additionally, the U.S. Department of the Interior's Office of Insular Affairs allocated $60,000 to GCC for the organization of the 3rd Regional Forensic Science Symposium. This funding underscores GCC's role in facilitating critical regional dialogues and training in forensic science. In February, we launched the very first Youth Build program for Guam. Youth Build is a community-based program to support the education and training of at-risk youths between the ages of 16 to 24 years of age. To earn their high school equivalency or GED, complete a construction pre-apprenticeship program, and continue on to earn their apprenticeship certification. Thanks to our community partners, Guam Department of Labor, Guam Housing Corporation, and Micronesia Community Development Corporation, as many as 66 of Guam's young adults will be given the tools to become contributing members of our community. What makes Youth Build so special and so exciting is that the participants will not only be supported through the entire process, but they will be guided through it with the instruction, education, and employment opportunities to succeed. We believe that the Youth Build will become a model for successful workforce development for our island. Among our capital projects, GCC has made significant strides in enhancing our campus facilities. Building B renovation. Renovation efforts for Building B are just about completed. Centralizing student support services and computer lab access to the front of the campus, allowing easier access to our students and longer hours of operation. The Workforce Development Center. Renovation of the Workforce Development Center is nearly complete, with the goal of offering expanded boot camp training programs that are aligned with current industry needs, such as ship repair. The Culinary Arts and Baking Center is also nearly completed and will be equipped with updated facilities to support GCC's culinary and baking programs, enhancing hands-on training opportunities for all students. The installation of a new generator for Building 2000 is completed as well, ensuring uninterrupted power supply for critical operations. Initiatives are underway to implement solar parking solutions and enhancements to Building D, reflecting GCC's continued commitment to sustainability and energy efficiency. These projects demonstrate GCC's continued dedication to providing a conducive and modern educational learning environment. Guam Community College's progress and accomplishments in FY 2025 reflect our steadfast commitment to educational excellence, workforce development, and institutional growth. Rest assured that the college has more coming in the horizon. Through strategic funding acquisitions, infrastructural enhancements, and academic initiatives, GCC continues to work and play a pivotal role in shaping a skilled and knowledgeable workforce. Thank you, Chairman Dueñas, Committee Chairman Guåhan, and the senators here today with us for recognizing and supporting GCC's efforts. I look forward to continued collaboration and support as we continue to expand our mission to offer educational opportunities for our community here on Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leon Guerrero. That's very exciting testimony.
And so my name is Mary Okada, president of the Guam Community College. To the far left is Dr. Virginia Tudela. She is the vice president for academic affairs. And to my right is Vice President Clarissa Padua, overseeing finance and administration. Buenas semanas y todos samzu. Senator Dueñas, thank you very much. Vice Speaker Ada, Senators Sabrina Matanani, Senator Shelley Calvo, Senator Sean Gumatautau, our Oversight Chair, Senator Vince Borja, and Senator Tello Taidegui. I want to personally thank each of you for attending our budget hearing. It's always a pleasure to share the progress of the Guam Community College with all of you, especially during our budget hearing. My name is Mary Okada, president of the Guam Community College. This morning, I come before you to advocate for the Guam Community College's fiscal year 2026 budget request. As a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia, we take pride in supporting every student that we serve, whether it be in the career and technical education programs at the high schools, boot camps, post-secondary certificates, and degree programs. After almost 18 years serving as the president of GCC, the development, review, and presentation of the college's budget has always been a highlight. It is through this process that the college aligns its strategic priorities, department and program review and assessments with the needs for the operations of the college. Today, I present a budget request of $23,695,909. Although we have tried to keep the budget levels low, as demonstrated in prior year budget requests, there are two areas that have been increasing over the past couple of years: medical insurance and retirement contributions. Medical insurance rates, the government share, have soared since 2024. These increases are hard to budget, given that the rates are not released to the department until closer to the beginning of the fiscal year. Retirement benefits are estimated at 34.8% compared to the current rate of 30.77, an increase of 4.03%. GCC's proposed budget reflects these changes. Despite these changes, the college's 2026 request demonstrates our commitment to accountability, fiscal discipline, innovation, institutional transformation, and continuous quality improvements. As mentioned by Chairman Leon Guerrero, the college has several capital projects ongoing on the campus. This institutional transformation, not just in the modernized buildings, but within the classroom, helps to ensure a conducive learning environment. We hope to invite you all to the campus soon for each ribbon-cutting event. With each project completion, student-centered success sits at the forefront. This year, we will complete Building B renovation and expansion, Culinary Arts and Baking Center renovation and expansion, and the renovation of the Workforce Development Center. In the upcoming months, the college will launch the $2 million solar parking garage and battery storage project, further demonstrating our commitment to renewable energy. To date, the college has 12 structures that produce solar energy. These renewable projects allow the college to further cut costs for utilities. As the chairman mentioned, the on-site evaluation and conclusion of GCC's peer review process took place on March 5th. Our accreditation results will be available in a couple of months. For many years, the college has focused on continuous quality improvement to guide our budget development process. Through program review, we established the requirements to modernize curricula to meet the changing needs of our community. I am sure that you join me in congratulating my wonderful team for their hard work to make this all possible. Stay tuned for the final results. This past March, the college launched its first cohort for the Associate Degree in Nursing program. 20 students are on track to complete by December this year, 2025. In addition, the next cohort will begin in August 2025, supporting the island's need for bedside registered nurses. This is a significant milestone and a step toward alleviating the critical shortage of nurses in our healthcare system. We appreciate all the support that we have been receiving through this process. In a couple of weeks, the next cohort of 26 Guam Fire Department paramedics will enter the next phase of their training. This includes the capstone training and psychomotor exam. All successful completers will go on to take the NREMT exam. In line with GCC's mission to support the whole student, an opportunity arose about a year ago for the establishment of the Guam Community College as a third-party employment and training partner. This allows the college to provide reimbursable support services to SNAP ENT students. This partnership was first launched with a grant from the Association of Community College Trustees. GCC will be the first institute of higher education in our region to offer SNAP ENT directly to the students. Enrollment at the college has stabilized with the continued engagement of business partners to support the college's boot camp initiative. In FY24, we launched 7 boot camps in the following areas: ship repair, environmental technicians, home health aides, certified nurse assistants, construction, plumbing, and truck driving. To support some of these efforts, the college received grant funding from the U.S. Department of the Interior, GITA, GDOL, and Metallica. To support our technological advancements, the college launched its Software as a System, or SaaS, upgrade. This requirement stemmed from the need to transition from cloud-managed services. The upgrade is expected to take 18 months, estimated for September 2026. The GCC Finance and Administrative Division is leading this charge. We look forward to greater efficiencies. I want to thank you again for the opportunity this morning to present the Guam Community College's fiscal year 2026 budget request for $23,695,909. Not only does this budget support the mission of the college, but embraces the change that our ongoing initiatives will bring while maintaining fiscal responsibility. We have consistently demonstrated our commitment to our community in forging through with new opportunities, enhanced funding resources, and valued partnerships. As I close my testimony today, I'd like to personally thank each and every one of you for supporting our college. The employees of the Guam Community College remain focused on our mission. I can honestly say that the GCC employees demonstrate a Department of Government efficiency and resilience. All of us should be proud of the commitment each employee brings to our workforce. With the continued support from the GCC Board of Trustees and the Foundation Board of Governors, we will continue to focus on students first, mission always. Sidus Maasi.
Sidus Maasi, President Okada, and thank you for your testimony. And yes, also recognize who senator has joined us, Senator Montanani. Thank you for joining the panel today. So it will just be the 2 testimonies, I guess, and then you have your support staff for any questions. Is that correct, Madam President?
Yes.
Okay, so at this time, I will now turn to the Chairman of Education, Chairman Senator Bora. You can proceed with your line of questioning or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't necessarily have any questions. Dr. Okada, Chairman Leon Guerrero, and Dr. Tadella, and Vice President. Thank you for coming today, and really the work that you guys do at GCC. Just within the last, my first 3 or 4 months within the legislature, and the amount of graduation ceremonies I've been there, I've been able to witness a lot of the great stuff that you guys are doing in regards to workforce development and filling a lot of the gaps in regards to the high demand of technical work in our community. I don't necessarily have any questions in regards to your budget. Obviously, with you guys just doing a status quo on top of the increase with health insurance, I think it's safe to say that I don't think there should be any issues in adopting this budget. So thank you. Oh, I did have one question, just because GDOE in regards to some of the shortages with like SPED and that area. Is there any? I know we talked about it a couple months ago in a boot camp. Has there been any progress with GDOE in regards to putting that together for one-on-one or any of those fields?
So we have met with GDOE on several occasions regarding the paraeducator program. And so our team has already lined it up, and we're just waiting for their final authorization for us to proceed.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Chairman Guåhan, and I wanted to thank you again. We just want to make sure that the panel knows and our people know. We always have pre-budget meetings, and it went very well with GCC, and so we already received a lot of this information in terms of GCC's progress and its requests. So thank you very much, President, for making your team available and the fruitful conversation that we had at that time that we set aside for this. So this time I'll recognize the Vice Chair of this committee, Vice Speaker Tony Ada. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam President, to your team. Every budget time that you've come before me that I've been in this body, I've always been impressed with how the institution has expanded, has rebuilt, and has actually, that's practically a new campus. It's all to the hard work, and I think the increase in what you're asking for over the past years is probably just made up for perhaps what I wouldn't even say make up for what you haven't asked for in the past. And once again, I thank you for the leadership that you guys have shown, and that the school has, the college has actually been just doing all kinds of things for our community, and thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I don't have no questions for any budgetary questions for GCC. I mean, they shown the restraint, the responsibility, and being very resourceful in how they get their funding and continue to expand the Guam Community College. And I thank you for your vision and for your foresight, and looking forward to the future and how our kids will be able to have that higher education in a quality campus. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, to your team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker and Vice Chairman of the committee. This time I would now like to recognize, Senator Gumitato.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, GCC, for all that you do for higher ed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your work, and Mary, obviously, you have a great team at the community college. I have just a couple of questions, if I could. GCC's budget request for employee benefits increased from $5,666,007 in FY25 to $6,114,705, or by $448,698 in FY2026. Recognizing that GCC's FY26 budget request is based on an employer retirement contribution of 34.80% that you presented just a couple of minutes ago, what information, Dr. Okada, is available at this point confirming whether the contribution rate will further increase? And if this were to occur prior to the new fiscal year, how exactly will GCC absorb the additional cost?
So the information that we were given in order to develop our budget was to use the 34.8%, and so that has been included. In last fiscal year, the request that the information we received prior to our budget development was 32.31, and then when it finally came through, it was 30.77. That's what it currently is. So we're budgeting based on the guidance that was provided to us in the budget development. So in the event that it increases beyond the amount of 34.8 that we currently have, we would just have to absorb the cost, hold off on hiring, because in years past, benefits used to run about 40%, 45%. Now it's at 50%. The government share of all benefits has now increased to about 50% of their annual salary. So we would just have to manage it internally to make sure that we budget for all the benefits and all the salaries of all the full-time employees. We may have to lapse some personnel by not hiring them on October 1st or hiring them sooner, just in order to absorb any difference beyond the 34.8.
All right, thanks, Mary. And speaking of which, recognizing that there are at least 20 vacancies that are funded in GCC's FY2026 budget request across your funding sources, including the General Fund, Manpower Development Fund, and non-appropriated funds, how long have these positions remained vacant, and what specific challenges has the college experienced with respect to recruiting and retaining individuals for these positions in the past?
So many of these vacancies, so first of all, the vacancies are a snapshot in time. And we have seen a lot of, in terms of the support staff, we've seen individuals that have been promoted within the institution, leaving vacancies at the lower level. And so that also helps us manage the budget, because when we bring in new folks after someone retires, chances are we're not hiring somebody at the same rate unless it's a promotion. Right. So we've been able to do that. For the most part, I would say that the vacancies don't last longer than 2 years. And the area that we always have some challenges is really in nursing. And so we've been trying to fill those positions for nursing. So I would say at the most it would be 2 years, but it would be revolving, because there's different positions. So I would have 20 positions this year. Last year I may have had 20, but they're not necessarily the same positions.
Got it. I just have 2 more questions, Mr. Chair. With the post-commission executive director position that's funded through the Office of the Governor, what information is available regarding the possibility of appropriating funds directly to GCC to support the post-commission moving forward, recognizing that 17 GCA Section 51102 designates GCC as the state agency for the post-commission?
So the post-commission, so first of all, the college only has 2 unclassified employees, myself and my secretary. And so bringing on the executive director in an unclassified position doesn't fit within GCC, because I only have those 2 positions. We currently have recruited for the administrative assistant for post with the allocation, but to hire an unclassified, unless we hire someone at a classified rank, we would not be able to offer the position or the salary that currently is being offered, which I don't know at this point.
All right, thank you, Mary, for your candor. Has GCC discussed the possibility of sharing administrative costs of the post-commission with public safety enforcement agencies if it is determined that there would be no conflict of interest?
We have not discussed sharing the administrative cost. In previous years, one of my secretaries, prior to the hiring of this administrative assistant, all of the administrative work was done by one of my secretaries, reviewing all of the applications for post. Because of the state agency requirement, we were offering support, and when they were appropriated separate funding, that's when we decided to hire someone separate. Because my secretary is actually the board secretary for the foundation and supports my office, but she was carrying on the additional work just until such time that the post-commission was able to get their own budget.
All right, thanks, Mary. And Mr. Chair, I just have one last question. This is relative to the crime lab, and obviously with my experience coming from the judiciary of Guam into this branch, so certain things will at least get me thinking about what's happening over at the crime lab. But if you could, what information is available today regarding the HVAC system issues at the forensic crime lab facility, and to what extent is GCC involved in assisting GPD or even the judiciary of Guam, for that matter, with repairs and other issues affecting that system?
So on the original crime lab, I would say at least 5 years ago, maybe longer, GCC offered to procure the HVAC system, and they found an alternate route to do it. So we have no participation in the original crime lab. Where we do have involvement is on the annex, which was built by GCC for GPD, and we procured the equipment for them through a grant that they received. And we're just waiting for the final installation of what they call snorkels in order for that part of the building to pass occupancy. And so once that's done, then that is our participation for Crime Lab, but not on the original building.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there might be a little nudge, if you will, to get them to make the system of their work together. That's my only question, but I'm hoping that anything in the future relative to your Metallica grant, I'm hoping you'll consider me and call me at any time to be a part of anything with it.
We have one more cohort funded by Metallica for ship repair.
Amen
that
to
is
that.
coming up. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Gumatalto, and also like to recognize the arrival of Senator Perez joining us today. And so next on our list is Senator Titegu. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon or good morning to my colleagues. And you know, it's always nice to start off our budget, sessions, our public hearings with our favorite, which is GCC. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are always very prompt in providing all the information we need so that we can put you first on the agenda. But, I have to say you are amongst many of us senators our favorite because of your reports coming in from the audit. However, last year, if I'm not mistaken, though, did you guys come before the budget hearing last year in FY25? Mm-hmm. You did, right?
We did.
Okay, yeah, you did. I wasn't sure. I know you did in 24. I wasn't sure in 25. I don't think I was there. But anyways, good work. And, Mary, I know you got a great team behind you. I mean, that's what makes GCC shine so much is the people behind the scenes. And I really greatly appreciate all the work that they do. So please extend my heartfelt, thank you, Donkalusitus Masi, to the staff and employees over at GCC. Moving forward, I know that the audit report had come out for GCC. There were a couple things, if I'm not mistaken, brought up with regards to, let me pull that up. Some of the concerns with compliance issues and operational challenges along with financial management. Some of them is just major, corrections going through, but has those been corrected from the last audit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everybody's clear, so you're clear with BJ then.
So we are providing the updated responses from the prior year findings. The training that was required has been completed. There was one area where the auditors had cited that the college did not provide a sufficient documentation for procurement regarding the purchase of air conditioning. But we put the bid out 3 times, and we didn't get any respondents except one. And we were still cited for not having 3 price quotes. So we went through and provided additional documentation. We had our legal counsel review the procurement file, and that has since been submitted to the auditors as a prior year finding resolution.
And that was,
but it had to do with the procurement. We put the bid out 3 times, and when you don't have people submitting for bids, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. So we ended up doing price quotes at that point because we didn't get any takers for multiple air conditioning units. So we just did price quotes and didn't meet their requirement, but that has since been resolved in our opinion, has been resolved.
what about small purchases regarding procurement, the process? Are there procurement for small purchases or no, or is that just price quotes?
Small purchases for us is anything less than $500. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we do a RFQ. So we do obtain quotations, and many times the quotations will come in because it's a certain type of item that they don't carry. So we'll get some no quotes on, but we try our best to submit information to as many vendors as we can. So we cast the net wide and hope that they provide quotations for what we are requesting for.
Okay, thank you. With regards to your staffing, and I noticed that it's only about 606,343 additional amount that you're requesting for. Is that it? That's still refreshing, considering some of the other, schools that are, in need of millions of dollars more. So I appreciate that even though last year you didn't even request for any increase in your FY25 budget, you maintain the same one. And this year you're asking just only for 606,000 more. Is that correct? To meet those costs that are unforeseeable. Well, no, it's foreseeable. Of course, everything goes up. Premiums go up. Insurance goes up. Everything goes up. Health care goes up as well, so I'm glad it's staying within your means. I noticed too, did you receive one of these? Yes, you have one of these in front of you. And I did notice that in the section where it says authorized level, where it says Peace Officer Standard and Training Commission in FY25, you received $300,000 in that particular section, but then in FY26, the agency requested none.
So last year, we did not request for that in our budget, but it was added during the budget process as part of GCC's budget, but it wasn't part of our request.
Okay, but that was nice to have, I guess. The other one is also in the WICHE program, 78,500 in FY25, but in FY26, there's no request for that.
It's included in our request for this year. It's just not a separate line item. It's all together.
Okay, so you are going to be utilizing funding for the WICHE program and
Yes,
using 78,000 of your budget to go in.
I believe it's a little bit more because we have more students that are looking to pursue their advanced degrees off island.
Okay, is that, okay, also, in the Manpower Development Fund, in FY24, there was about 12,291,600 that was estimated in projections, and then the same falls true in FY25, was the same one of 12,291,600. But in this year, the governor has predicted that there's going to be a, I don't know, this is good. The governor has predicted there is going to be a drop, just a slight drop, anticipating from the Manpower Development Fund. And in your FY25 budget, you had you were appropriated about $8.6 million in FY25, and did you receive that full amount?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did the Manpower Development Fund fall short of the estimated $12,291,600? Because I know you guys watch that like a hawk, to see him.
That's our request. My understanding is it did not fall short.
Okay. Any excess revenue that comes out of the Manpower Development, does that go directly to you? Does the budget allow for that, or what is the situation when there is more money than
so the budget does allow for the excess to be given to GCC 70-30 with Department of Labor, but it's not consistent. It just depends on when they collect the funding. So it might be 2 years delayed before it's made available.
How much was given to you in FY24? Any excess revenue there?
I believe it was about 600,000, but we can get that information. Not in FY24. We haven't received anything for excess FY24.
What about 23? Was that the 600,000?
I believe the last one we did was 22, which was about 600,000.
And where does that funding going? Or is it being tracked by, by your office and incorporating into your budgets?
It is.
Okay. And where can we? Well, I know it'd be difficult on an accounting perspective, but you received $600,000 more in FY22, right? And it's anticipated in FY23 to receive in this fiscal year any excess revenue. Can you give us an amount how much you may receive in excess revenue, because we already know what the excess revenue is. Now the 70-30 split will be given to GCC, and how much is that going to estimated to be? Because it's going to be going into your pocket for this fiscal year, right? And utilized?
So we have not received any. So the FY22 excess was received in 24, I believe, of about 600. Okay. And so that is recorded as MDF revenue for the fiscal year.
And what did you do with that 600,000?
So the board, so there was a couple of things that happened. One of the proposals, so the MDF is considered part of GCC's total appropriation. So when GCC requests for additional support or funding, for example, to upgrade some of our facilities that are career and technical education facilities, the law allows us to do that. So when we do requests from the board to fund certain portions of capital improvement projects, it's done through a resolution specifically identifying Manpower Development Fund as the funding source.
Okay. So it goes through capital improvement. But
for the most part, yes.
Most part, okay. No, nothing for operational.
I'd have to go back and take a look. I don't think we have, because when we receive the Manpower Development Fund, it is intertwined with the general fund depending on how much money we receive. So if the Manpower Development Fund goes up, our general fund goes down. When the Manpower Development Fund goes down, the general fund usually goes up. So it's not on top of unless there is an excess.
Right, and we're showing, you know, according to the governor's anticipation, that the Manpower Development Fund will be lower than anticipated for this upcoming FY26 budget. We'll keep an eye on that and make sure that there's any shortfalls it's covered. But did you have any loss in federal funds on grants that were frozen, considered the Trump situation? I do know that in FY24, if I'm not mistaken, the Huffer institutional funding was no longer in play. This fund was lost in 2024. I think it's called the Huffer institutional, if I'm not mistaken. And then what happened was, I think the literacy navigator came into play that you utilized from DOE to try and offset that. So what is the status now under GCC with all these federal funds? Are they still going to come your way, or are you losing anything?
So the last piece of the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, the HERF, that was given, there were two pieces. One was for the students, the other one was for the institution. All the student funding was provided to the students, fully exhausted. When the Department of Education notified us that we were on a reimbursement, I sent a letter to U.S. Department of Ed asking for a template. This was about 3 weeks ago. So we initially got an out-of-office response, and then I got a notice 2 weeks ago saying, all you have to do is provide this documentation. We provided the documentation, everything's done, we received the money, we closed it out, $200,000 was left. So Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund have fully been exhausted because it was part of the culinary renovation and fully received. So all that money now has been received as of last week. So that money is done. In terms of other projects that we may have lost funding, we initially had a very, very small grant from USAID of about $20,000. The amount of work that the college put into it was paid for, and the remainder was just a termination. It was a termination for convenience, but we didn't lose any money. We just didn't receive the rest and didn't carry out the rest of the activities. Last week, we received notification that the funding source from FEMA for BRIC was lost. This was something we were notified about 2 years ago, that we were going to receive the money, but Friday, 2 weeks ago, we were told the accounts were set up and they would issue the award, and then last week they pulled all of the funding, 1.6, I believe. So that is lost. So we'll look for another funding source for our project. So that grant was lost. We were never awarded because it.
Can you tell me what that grant covers, that 1.6?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me what that would cover?
It was the grant, it was a FEMA grant, and the project is, the grant program is called BRIC, and it was funding to support the renovation of Building 600 for us to harden the facility similar to what we've done on the other buildings. And so we just lost that award, although it was never officially awarded to us.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, hopefully things will change. You know, I think education is very important, and I think this administration, the U.S. administration is doing whatever they can to, you know, help our students provide the education that they deserve and need. I know that GCC does everything they can to, and I really appreciate your campus. You know, it's growing, even outside of GCC. But, you know, my concern, too, is though it's growing, we're seeing an exodus of quite a bit of people leaving the island. We're also finding ways of being innovative and using technology to provide, you know, classrooms for areas in which you don't meet the quota, because we know there's a cost associated with them. It's about, you know, being able to pay the instructor. So sometimes when classes are not availing to our community, it's because it doesn't have a certain amount of quota of students being there to be able to pay. But we've got to find ways, you know, because our population is, you know, is not that strong like it used to be, where we can fill these classes up. But we still need to help those people who decide to make Guam home and decide to learn from here and get their degrees and get their certifications so they can be part of the community. And that means we've got to train them. You know, we need to school them. They need their degrees. And if it comes to finding innovative ways, I know GCC has that capability, which you've shown countless times, year after year, Mary, since you've been there, thinking outside the box. So if we've got 3 people who need a course in anything from paralegal studies, which we've been talking about, to anything else, you know, the procurement, you know, when I know you need instructors for that, but, you know, there's quite a bit that we need to do to make sure we provide that type of education for our community to avail of, and not have the excuse of there's not enough students. We've got to find a way. I mean, not students, not enough instructors. We need to find a way to do that. So what are some of the pressing needs in our community that not required, that you're looking at to provide these classroom services to our community?
So students that are on a degree program, there is a mechanism for students in order to complete their degree program that the vice president meets with the deans to offer some leeway for under-enrolled classes. But there's a process, and that's done on a case-by-case basis, because we need to ensure that students are able to complete their degrees within a specified time. So that's one thing in terms of under-enrolled classes. We have been increasing the number of individuals that can teach procurement classes. So we brought on some additional folks because we know that there is some catch-up to do. There is a quarterly schedule for procurement that is posted on our website, and we always get those classes filled. And so that is an ongoing process. We have reached out to other entities to also provide some instruction for us. So for example, if the apprenticeship for ship repair, for example, required advanced welding, we actually contracted individuals to come and do the advanced welding courses for us. And so it cost a little bit more money, but because it's part of the apprenticeship standards for that industry, we're helping to support that by identifying other folks as well. And then the paralegal, they are currently developing the curriculum for the paralegal. We're hoping to get it launched through our Office of Continuing Education Workforce Development, because in order for us to add it as a certificate or a degree program, we need the evidence to justify need. So we'll launch it through CEWD to get it started before we build on it. But that's already underway. They've already started working on the curriculum.
Thank you so much for that, because, you know, there is a need for, you know, attorneys out there as well as paralegals, where the actually a bill that's out there to try and help augment the lack of attorneys that we have on this island, and we're losing more every day, not just to Exodus, but, people are retiring. Quite a bit of people are retiring. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I just one last question regarding the Endowment Foundation. I believe in FY24, you had about $15 million in your Endowment Foundation. What is the current, well, maybe it was FY23 at 15 million, but what is the current balance of your Endowment Foundation, and what are you using that funding for?
So prior to the decrease in market, the Community College Foundation reached the 20 million threshold. And of course, the market has dipped since then, but the funding from the foundation helps to support many of the architectural engineering costs for capital projects. One request that was recently submitted to the board for their consideration was to use some of the proceeds, or the interest, if you will, of their investments to support scholarships for nursing students. And so we often request to the foundation primarily for capital improvements or scholarship opportunities. But I don't know right offhand what our current value is, but it's not 20 million because the market has been decreasing in the past several months.
About 15, would you say, or?
I would say it's probably somewhere 17 million.
17? Okay.
Yeah, maybe around 17, 18. I'd have to take a look. I don't have the most recent valuation of our portfolio.
And is some of that money utilized for maintenance? I know that you've been very proactive when it comes to your maintenance and having funding available to take care of your buildings and your facilities.
Right now, it's used for capital projects, not operational cost.
Okay.
We do have one request to the foundation right now to borrow the money and to build the GCC Facilities and Wellness Center. Mm-hmm. So that's something we've been working on for a couple of years. We finally got all the requirements together and have submitted to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We're hoping to borrow about $7 million that will be secured by the foundation for that facility.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And again, I greatly appreciate all the hard work that you're doing over there at GCC and providing the means for our people to better themselves in every way, to contribute to the community. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Taragui. Senator Montanani, please proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to follow up on some questions regarding the Manpower Development Fund, because I understand that there has been discussions about increasing the appropriation for the MDF. Can you provide some context into this subsidy and how your general fund appropriation has been adjusted to account for higher allocations from the MDF?
So whenever GCC puts a budget together, we take into consideration the funding that was provided in the previous years. When the budget finally gets to its final state, depending on the cash projections from MDF, legislature usually does the balance. They give us the total appropriation, but they identify where the funding comes from. So if they see the increase in MDF, they give us more MDF, they decrease our general fund. If they see decrease in MDF, sometimes they'll shift it the other way, keeping intact the request that we usually have. So we don't necessarily go through and say, when we get the final budget, we right-size it based on where the funding source is, but it really is a combined budget request.
There has been discussions also from the University of Guam that's also looking into tap into the Manpower Development Fund, and I just would like to, I guess, get your reaction to that potential or possibility.
So if the MDF fund is tapped, then my GF will have to go up in order to meet the budget requirements for the college. So if you decide to make an appropriation or give an allocation to the university from the MDF, then we just request that the shortage based on our request comes from the GF. So it really is a balancing act. There is some misconception out there that the Manpower Development Fund is on top of our appropriation, which is not correct. Our appropriation is managed based on the amount that is allocated and revenues collected for the fiscal year and balanced with the general fund appropriation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Montanani. Senator Perez, questions or comments for GCC?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to GCC, Dr. Magaʹhågan, for running such a tight ship. We do appreciate that, and for all the work that you do. I'm a big fan of the boot camps and just putting out the workers as needed, on demand, right? And so I guess some of the questions are related to, I guess, with the ship repair boot camp. I know there was projected amount that was needed to fill positions, and I just wanted to ask what's the status of being able to fill those positions?
So the ship repair boot camp continues and continues and continues because there is such a high demand for ship repair. Every time we finish one ship repair boot camp, there's another one already in the pipeline because we do have continuous requests from both Cabris Marine, Guam Shipyard, and CFIX, I believe is the other entity. So we still have boot camps being developed to support the ship repair industry.
Okay. And are you getting enough recipients or applicants for those boot camps?
The last one we did for Metallica was really good. So yeah, we did get interest from individuals. And we will continue as students complete their high school graduation in the next couple of months. There is an opportunity for students to avail of the boot camp that is coming up. So we try to meet with them and provide them opportunities for ship repair.
Okay. And the other thing that I'm very interested in is developing the pre-apprenticeships within GDOE. And what are the chances of establishing a STEAM trades program within the high schools? So STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so one of the things that I was thinking of is creating a common curriculum and then maybe diversifying into other trades so it could launch different trades. And I know there's over 1,000 recognized U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeships. And I'm seeing that as a framework to really kind of catalyze workforce development, and just wondering your thoughts on that.
So one of the things we do every summer is we try to offer the CTE, Career and Technical Education Summer Program. And this is not only for GDOE students, but is also opened up to the private and charter schools for individuals that want to receive or could potentially receive high school credit to take a post-secondary class. And so based on interest from the high schools, we usually use the Summer CTE Academy to help launch that interest. We do have technology, electronics in the high schools already. We have pre-architectural drafting, so we have AutoCAD that was taught to some high school students, primarily from GW at the time. And so we can include and expand CTE courses depending on the request from the high schools and the interest surveys. So I believe we just sent out an interest survey a couple of months ago that'll help provide information to us so that we can further expand career and technical educations in the high school.
Okay, great. The other thing that I'm very interested in is literacy, developing, increasing early childhood development and improving literacy at a young age. And if you can discuss your program that you have right now and any efforts to expand it.
So we do have the literacy navigation program that is currently ongoing, and basically this started many years ago with the funding that we received from ARP. It may have been ESF2. We received that funding to launch the literacy navigation program. We have since incorporated many of those activities into our Reach for College initiative so that we can continue to provide the resources to the students, also incorporating it into our, as part of our career and technical education program as well. We do have a literacy conference coming up. I believe it's the first part of May that is currently being organized by the team at GCC.
Okay, thank you for those responses. So in regards to federal funding, so you did mention that you did lose some funding, but it wouldn't cost jobs because it hasn't been you haven't received the money. But in regards to like the other federal funds, do you think, is there a risk of losing some funds that you are currently have employed people to implement?
So the funding source that we could potentially, that we have individuals assigned to is the adult education program. But because it is mandated, GCC is the state education for adult basic education, we would have to find some way to incorporate those activities into our local funds or non-appropriated funds, just so that we continue to offer the adult high school and GED program.
And how much is that worth about?
So right now, I believe our grant is about $600,000 a year. Okay. And there is a matching component on the local side. So I do have some staff that are locally funded and some that are federally funded.
And the SNAP satellite program, do you have that money in the bank right now?
So the SNAP satellite is launching, and there is an allocation for us which allows us to reimburse up to 50% of support services for SNAP. We haven't started it yet, so we haven't started receiving application or submitting for any reimbursement yet.
And you haven't received money yet for that?
Not yet.
Okay. The other thing is the Weechee field. So what is covered in, what type of fields are being covered in FY2026?
I have to go back and look. I'm sorry, I don't have that information. We do have pharmacy. I know there is students that are pursuing pharmacy degrees, doctors. I can get you the list. There's 10, there's only 5 that we've identified so far that we're supporting. But we do have an increase in the number of students that are requesting. So the budget, I believe, has about $45,000 included in our budget request to support just the scholarships for these students that have applied. We did receive some support from private industry, so we do have support for tuition for at least 2 of the current students. And we are looking to increase our numbers based on additional donations or fundraising activities for additional students.
Okay, and then I know the government has footed the bill in regards to increases in insurance, and it was pretty high. Do you have any estimate of how much that is for this year, FY26, or this upcoming fiscal year? And unfortunately, you know, the insurance is determined or negotiated right at the end of budget, and so we don't know until the year comes. And so what is the cost that wasn't accounted for when we passed the FY25 budget? Was there additional cost?
Yes, for GCC it was almost $400,000.
Okay. And how was it covered, or how are you able to pay for that?
How are we able to pay for it?
Yeah, considering we only appropriated.
We had to lapse, so I wouldn't let people hire for vacant positions. So if we needed a position, we took the leftover money from individuals that retired. So what we basically do is, if there's vacancies that are funded, we put it in a pool. As we hire, we remove it from the pool. As people retire, we remove any excess back to the pool, so that I'm able to manage it at a higher level, so that we know whether or not we can certify the funds for it. So we create an internal process that allows us to manage the lapses. So when we set up the budget after the approval for the fiscal year 2025, we loaded all of the benefits that were required, including the insurance. And then part of the money came from the rollback, if you would, on the retirement. So we estimated at 32.31 and then it rolled back to 30.77 that was actually implemented. So we took that difference and used that as well. So we just manage it at the high level. When the budget gets approved, we identify all the warm bodies and all their benefits, and then we identify where in the budget we have to cut in order to meet the appropriation levels.
Okay, thank you. And currently this budget proposes a what is it for the Manpower Development Fund? Is it 8.6? No,
8.6, yes.
Or 9 million?
I'm sorry, our current request is at 8.8.
8.8,
Yes,
okay.
8.8.
Okay. All right, I think those are my questions for now. Thank
And
you so
Senator
much.
Perez, just to
Yes.
update, we do have currently 4 students that are in the WICHE program. 3 of them are under the pharmacy track, and 1 is under osteopathic medicine. Those are the current 4 students that are funded. And we do have 2 of those students that are funded through a private donor.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, and thank you for
Thank you very
the
much.
responses. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just want to see Senator Perez, and just a couple of questions from me in closing. On the insurance costs, I'm not sure that this is, well, I think it's going to show in terms of what the benefits are anyways, but are you also privy to the employee share?
That
So the
is
grand total between employee and employer
Oh.
share?
Well, the shift from 24 to 25 didn't increase the employee share. It was only the employer share, I understand, that went up.
So the government of Guam continues to take the brunt of any increases of insurance liability or costs with regard to when these costs are going up. So employee share is not being affected at this point, as you can see in the 24-25.
I'd have to go back and verify it, but it does show a slight increase. It does show a slight increase, but my understanding is that it did not go up. But I would have to go back and verify. I can
Okay.
do that calculation and send that through.
Yeah, that's what we've been tracking. We're trying to see the impact of self-insurance at this point and what's happening. And it looks like across the board in all my pre-budget meetings, what's happening is the government share is going up quite a bit. I don't know that there's a corresponding employee share that's been affected. Also, another note, I guess just for the purposes of, and it really is a help on how they've been planning for the actuarials. Looks like the retirement rate will be finalized by the end of this month or early next month. So we'll receive the percentage from the Guam Retirement Fund. So we'll be able to plan a little better, closer to the actual adoption of the budget. But once again, you mentioned that the Guam Retirement Fund contribution is also increased this year as well, right?
Based on what we received as part of our budget development, increased by 4.03%.
Right. So
On
we'll
the
see.
gross.
We'll see what that's going to look like. But we should get a better picture well before the actual debate on the budget in August. I just wanted to get some information because the housing and land chair over here was really excited when we were watching or listening to testimony from Mr. Leon Guerrero on the youth bill. This is really, I can't overemphasize the excitement on training the 16 to 24-year-olds, getting the general education equivalent and working with Guam Housing Corporation and Department of Labor. I mean, this is really exciting. Can you expand on that? Are these troubled youth or just youth in general? And are they going straight into the construction trades as a result of this?
So this is the 3rd time we've applied for youth build. So we'll say 3rd time's a charm in this particular one. Because whenever we apply for a grant, we don't get selected. We always take a look at the evaluators or the reviewers' comments. And so how we were able to develop this one, it basically takes individuals that do not have a GED or a high school diploma and put them into a program that gets them the GED and the high school diploma with a occupational area. We chose construction for this particular youth build project. And so there are two projects. One is to renovate a house, and the other one is to build it from the bottom up. So those are two, from the two partners that we have, that's the opportunity. There have been other states that have actually used Youth Build to build allied health professionals. So there are opportunities. We decided construction because that was, you know, one of the major areas, not that nursing isn't, but one of the major areas we needed to help support the businesses here on Guam. Nursing, once we're able to expand our nursing faculty and nursing capabilities, we may consider applying for Youth Build to support nursing programs. And some institutions have had Youth Build. You would think of it as a one-time grant, but it's a 4-year grant for us, but some institutions have had the grant for over 20 years. So it's not something that you just apply for and the grant's over, it's done. You can continuously apply for the grant, and as I met many of the individuals that actually have had Youth Build programs for more than 20 years, it really just builds on the capacity to get individuals without high school diplomas or GEDs into the workforce environment, leading to pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship.
Well, thank you for helping build our construction and trades capabilities. I can safely say now to GCC, as many people look fondly on the Manpower Development Fund, that this institution is actually trying to lower its Manpower Development Fund by training locals to do construction. So I think that's a really a great goal and a great achievement to get that grant. And really, we cannot get enough people interested in construction and the trades. And one thing that a builder cousin of mine who's built for over 50 years on Guam would always say, he'd say, Bobak, you need to understand the reason why we love when we get these investments of construction in is because even if we use labor from outside, it's what's left over for our people to maintain those buildings, for the HVAC systems, the electrical, everything else. So you really are building out these youth for career opportunities. And so thank you for securing that grant. And thank you for putting another notch in the belt of GCC and all of the wonderful work you do up there. I don't have any other questions outside of that. I agree with my colleagues that this is always the most fun way to start the budget season, and your team did not disappoint or let down today. So in closing, this will conclude this morning's budget hearing on Bill 44-38 COR relative to the Guam Community College. The committee will continue to accept written testimony on the bill within 7 calendar days from the day of which may be addressed to myself, Senator Christopher M. Dueñas, as chairman of the committee, and mailed to 163 West Chalan Santa Papa in Hagåtña. You may also send your testimonies to my email at senator.dueñas@guamlegislature.gov. This morning's budget hearing will now be adjourned, and the time is now 11:14. Sidus Masi, have a great GCC day, and thank you for all who attended.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned.